Hello everyone, my name is El Parnaso and this is the best Elfnote Jump Pride in-depth review that you will see in the internet. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share the channel with your people so we can grow. Because a lot of people have told you, right? This card is a proof of power creep. This card is a proof that every single card right now has to have 3 different effects, has to special summon from everywhere at the same time, blah, blah, blah. In turn 0 even, just so it can be good, because Yu-Gi-Oh is just getting worse and Yu-Gi-Oh is just getting power king and blah blah blah. You know, all that shit that I've been hearing ever since I'm a kid, like almost 20 years ago, and from now from blah blah from back then, right? So let's talk about it, because in reality, like, the situation is very different. So let's put ourselves in one scenario when we have the Regina and the Lucina, and we are going against our opponent in turn 0, like in your opponent's turn, like your opponent is starting the duel. Here, you have a new advantage for the Regina that you didn't have before. Usually, you will need to, in order to use the Regina as a disruption, you will need to special summon it and then special summon one of the elf nodes that you want to use as a disruption. Like, it could be this, or it could be this. Maybe this even. But you can only summon one of them. You need to choose. Usually, maybe you will choose the Lucina, right? So the problem with this is that you are using 2 cards for one disruption. Yes, a turn 0 disruption, but that turn 0 disruption is not even that powerful because it's just a bounce or a banish from the hand until the end of the turn, or a spell bounce. Also, you are exposing your Regina and exposing the fact that maybe you are going to lose the resilience of the card, because this one is not a tuner, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can add this card to your hand, which sounds powerful, but if you don't do it, who gives a shit, right? And why would you do it? Because before the June Pride, there was absolutely no reason to special summon here the Power Patron. Because yes, it has the quick effect to will increase, like it says right here, like you can target one monster on your center main monster zone, increase its level by 3, then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon one Elfnote synchro monster or one Junora, the Power Patron of Tuning. Now, that sounds crazy, right? The problem first, Junora, the Power Patron of Tuning, is the Power Patron of Sucking. It's the worst synchro boss monster I ever read from the last years for a relevant deck. Oh. And the main reason is not even the effect. Like, you can make a debate for the effect of Junora, but my problem is that Junora asks you for 2 materials, which imply a lot of steps and a lot of win more scenarios for the deck to even be able to consider the summoning of the Junora. That's why it's the Power Patron of Sucking. Like, it's bad, it's horrible, the card, and you shouldn't even consider to play that shit in your Elfnote deck, no matter what variant you're playing. Like, you just don't play that shit because the requirement being so high, and at the end of the day, even like the effect is not that good to compensate that high requirement. So it's not like you're summoning an Egyptian god in the anime and you feel like you won the duel. No, it's not like that. So the Power Patron, suck, but the Elfnote June Pride at least allow you to be yourself in a scenario when you are using the Elfnote Power Patron as a turn 0 card, because now, just by Regina resolving, you have your level 6 non-tuner in the middle and your level 1 tuner, which means that now, as a quick effect, you can increase 3 levels in this card, which means that it's a level 9, and with this level 1 tuner, because June Pride asks you just for 1 material, here, right here, 1 material, you can actually do this. And now you are getting the recursion of the Regina, and you are getting still kind of recovering the card that you lost by the beginning with Regina, because Elfnote Power Patron, when it's used for Synchro Summon, if it's used for Synchro Summon, can add an Elfnote card. An Elfnote card. So here, for example, if you started with the Regina, you will add the Tinia, because it's just a good card to have, and it's better than Lucina, the Fortuna at that point, right? Maybe you can add another Lucina just to be sure. Yeah, let's say that we are not greedy fuckers here. and we go for another Lucina. Who cares? Like for the purpose of the example, you're adding an Elfnote here. So now you again have your circulation of an Elfnote to play and your Regina to push in your turn. But now you also have this synchro on the field. And and that is a plus of the card just by the summon requirements. Okay, that's fine. So now let's go for the effects. While this card is in the center main monster zone, neither player can declare attacks except with monsters in their center main monster zone, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's kind of troublesome. First, the illusion of protection. Yes, your opponent now only can make one attack and with one monster that may not be their highest attack monster they have. Okay, but looking at the embor of the monsters that you will be putting, you will realize that you don't give a shit. Because unlike like Yami, for example, this deck has a lot of bosses, or basically all of their bosses has a lot of attack, like or a lot of defense, as you can see, right? So that floodgate protection is kind of an illusion, and sometimes it may even be a downside because that is locking yourself to just one attack, so you can OTK while this card is there in the main monster zone. Now you can say, oh, but this is but it has a quick effect to special summon 3,000 things, so I can attack and then special summon those fuckers. No, you can't. You know why? Because this card sucks. It sucks so much that the effect that you're referring is only during the main phase. Now let's read it. During the main phase, if this card is in the center main monster zone, quick effect, at any phase, this is nice. It's not a main monster effect like this asshole. You can, well, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I'm just confusing myself with Regina. Regina is the one that can be used in the draw phase, which is cool. And you can watch my anti-Purulia combo whenever you draw Regina to find out. So you can return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon up to one Elfnote monster each from your hand, deck, and graveyard. So because of this, like let's say that we didn't start with Lucina. Because of this, it's very usual for the Elfnote Power Patron to add the Elfnote that you didn't send with the Regina, because then you are in the position when the Jump Right can actually create all the three main Elfnote disruptions that you have in your main deck. You can, in this case, for example, if you send the Regina with the Tinia and the Elfnote Power Patron add the Lucina, you have now a Tinia in the graveyard, a Lucina in the hand, and a Fortuna in the deck. So therefore, the Jump Prime can special all of them. Now, that sounds crazy, I understand, but at the same time, look at all the things that you are doing and how many assumptions do you have in order for this to actually succeed. Like, let's just not go even to the Jump right now. Like, let's go to this scenario. Like, you have Tinia and you have Regina. And your opponent is playing the game, right? And you are activating the Regina and you are sending the Tinia. First here, you are risking a lot because Tinia is your way to play the game and you are just sending it over. And here, the Elfnote Regina is exposing itself to a lot of different shit. You are exposing yourself here to an Ash Blossom. And in that sense, Elfnote Regina is like a Mulcharmy. It exchanges itself and you are exposing yourself to sacrifice the card just so your opponent can discard an Ash Blossom. But in this case, it's really worse because at the end, you are discarding a way to play the game. You are investing 2 cards instead of 1. And this Regina only comes back if you use it as synchro material. So here on the field, staying doing nothing after the Ash, you can pop it, you can banish it with SP, like just for jammy purposes. Like you can pop it with your Crookie, you can banish it with the SP that you always leave. You can send it with Engraver, by keeping the Requiem. So there's a lot of things that you can have in here. by you exposing right now for one of the most popular hunters in the meta, Ash Blossom. Now let's go for other card that is popular in the format right now. In this case, for example, the Droplet. If Droplet is a main deck popular decision, that means that in single one, your opponent can just draw the Droplet, use any of their cards, and now he's exchanging 2 cards against your 2 cards. And then you are just losing a starter when they may be losing less than you, because Droplet can't cost anything. Regina needs to cost an Elfnote card. So you can see that the exchange is not equal, and it benefits your opponent if they Ash or Droplet your ass in this Regina. Now, let's go for another situation. Let's go say that they don't do nothing to this. Let's say that you go all the way to special summon this asshole. Okay? Now, here is another problem. This effect to make synchro implies an activation, right? You need to activate the Elfnote Power Patron. And Elfnote Power Patron is the only level 1 tuner you have here. You know what that means? That you are activating a monster effect that you need to stay on the field in order for the effect to resolve. In a format when people are playing Ghost Ogre and people are playing Hydraulis Harmonia. You know what that means? It means that you, even here in this position, now you need to think about 2 other very popular cards in the format. You can't tell me people are not playing Ash Blossom. You can't tell me people are not playing Forbidden Droplet. You can't tell me people are not playing Hydraulis Harmonia. You can't tell me people are not playing Ghost Ogre, especially in Chaos Origins format, because of the Mind Shuffle and all that shit. So this is very, very unlikely to happen, and you still lose. Like, if you get Ogre here, then your opponent can just get rid of the Regina, and now you don't have shit. So it's a very wishful thinking scenario that this is going to happen, that the June Pride is even going to be there. And even if that happens, or let's put ourselves in 2 different scenarios right here. Let's say that you have like Call by the Grave or Crossout for either the Ghost, for either the Ash, for either the Droplet, or for either the Ghost Ogre, or for Hydraulis Harmonia. And you use one of your jokers to exchange with that card, and you finally get to the miracle point when you are making Elfnote Jump right? And you are all feeling good, like you are recovering the Regina, you are adding the Lucina, and you're great, right? Now, there's another problem here. The card says up to blah, blah, blah. So, up to hand, deck, or graveyard. What does that mean? It means, first, that you are deciding if you are summoning from the graveyard at resolution, which means that your effect will always include the possibility of special summoning a monster from the graveyard, which means that your ass can get Gospel against this card right here. And then your ass will get SP Little Knight, and this Elfnote disappears forever. You may say, hey, but I still have my Regina and my Lucina. Yeah, the situation when you were fucking before, right? Like with the it's the same in the sense that Tinia and Lucina are Elfnote cards that allows you to play the game, and you have the Regina to push that way to play the game. So yes, you are in that same situation, but now your opponent knows these 2 cards, and also they are still establishing their whole board. And a Lucina and a Regina against an established board in this meta ain't doing shit at the end of the day. So, this is a problem. Because now you can also tell me that Gospel is not a popular card in the meta too, right? Like, you can tell me all this shit. So you can see how there are really big problems with the June Prime. And if this weren't enough, let's say that you call by or cross out the Ghost Ogre or the Harmonia. If they have any of the other ones, you are still doomed, because this card says you can return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, which means that your opponent can use the other monster destruction hunter that they have, and you still ain't leaving shit because the card didn't came back to the extra deck at resolution. Therefore, the other part of the effect won't resolve. So you can see how the Regina allowing you to make Elfnote Jumpride as a turn 0 play is not very unlikely because of the most popular hand traps in the meta and the most popular non-board breaker will be on main decks a lot, if not always, against you, ever since the beginning of single one. But also but also and also this situation that I'm giving you with the environment that you are trying to make this play forces you to make the conclusion that Regina making Jump Pride is just a win more scenario. That is very unlikely to happen because you are exposing yourself to the most popular cards in the meta. Like, not even the most popular engine in the meta, the most popular non-engines in the meta. So this is what I don't like about Elfnote Jump Pride because it still exposes you to the cards that hurts the deck a lot. Like Ghost Ogre was a problem before, Harmonia was a problem before, Ghostbell was a problem before, Ash Blossom was a problem before, and now they are more of a problem because your new disruption still loses to those cards. Or the way to make this disruption loses to those cards. Not like even as a going second card, it's really bad to kind of push against your opponent because an SP can exchange itself with this shit, and because it didn't return either, it went to the banish. Like the SP leader, and I will check the card every single turn. So like at that point, why I'm making this shit? Why I'm trying to put myself in this scenario when I'm just losing? And then you can say, oh, maybe my opponent won't have any of those cards. Well, if your opponent don't have any of those cards, you should be winning anyways with any deck that you're playing. So that is what I wanted to shout out to you. I will make a review in general against Elfnote later, and I added extra content specialized against Elfnote in whenever I do when later too when I do that content general about Elfnote. Right now, I just wanted to give you this insight about Elfnote June Pride so you can understand that this card don't meet the expectation needed and Elfnote keeps sucking. If you enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, and share the channel with your people so we can grow. Bye bye.